Welcome to the Registered Investment Advisor Podcast, where financial services marketing expert Seth Green interviews experts, executives, and top producers to share can't-miss tips on how they successfully manage their financial service firms, grow their businesses, create great relationships, and influence the industry. And now, here's your host, Seth Green.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Green. Today, I've got the good fortune to be interviewing Mark Freed, president of TFG Wealth. For more than 20 years, Mark's been helping individuals and families accumulate and preserve wealth for retirement. During that time, he's been responsible for the management of more than $500 million in assets. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, how are you doing? It's great to be here.
We are fantastic. Thanks for asking. Let's go back in time just a little bit. How did you get into the business in the first place?
Well, way back when, it was actually happenstance. About 30 years ago, I was in a finance class at graduate school at Wharton, and my professor, who happened to be in the business, said, "Hey, would you like a job?" And I had just gotten married, and a job sounded really good at the time. Obviously, since then, over the years, I've learned so much and experienced a lot. TFG actually evolved about 13 years ago. I mostly worked for wealthy families in something called a family office. And my mother had gotten sick and stopped working to help take care of her. And after she passed away, it was one of these things, what am I going to do next? And in the process of going through her finances, which I had never done, I realized how much was lacking in the kind of advice that folks were getting, just your regular old average middle class person. My mom was a teacher, first grade teacher for 37 years. My dad worked for the state of New Jersey. We had money, but I wouldn't call us wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. And out of that came creating TFG Wealth Management, which is how I take the lessons that I've learned for working with some of the wealthiest families in the country and apply them to what the average person does with their money.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure that longer version of that story should probably be in a book somewhere, if it isn't already.
Well, it is right over my shoulder there.
Road Rules. How about
Yes.
that? So let's talk about who is an ideal client. You mentioned lessons from the wealthiest families. Let's talk about who's an ideal client for TFG.
Our ideal client is that millionaire next door. I don't know if you remember, maybe 20 years ago, there was a book written about the millionaire next door.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so our clients range from police officers and teachers and nurses to executives at corporations, small business owners. Typically, they have between, let's say, $500,000 and maybe $3 million saved for retirement. And most folks, they're within 10 years of retirement, because that's really where folks start getting laser focused on the things that they need to do to prepare for retirement. And there's so much to do that you need that time to really get prepared.
Absolutely. What are some of the biggest mistakes or challenges that you see those folks making that you're then helping them with, or helping them avoid in the first place?
Number one is that they don't even get started, right? It's the week before they're going to retire and they realize I got to do something about it. So not planning. And I would say that the big things are folks don't realize the way you invested and managed your money preparing for retirement are dramatically different than the way in which you're going to manage your money in retirement. And the number one reason is this: your paycheck stops and you are responsible for your income. And when you're responsible for your income, it means that your money and your whole financial world has to be prepared for that. Things like market volatility, you can't afford to see things go up and down, or the taxes that you owe on your 401k or your IRA, inflation, which, we experience in waves and can be very high at times. You have to be prepared for all of that. And it's not as simple as folks would think.
You're absolutely right. So with serving all those different types of people, how do you balance that all? I know you're active in the community, you're active in a number of organizations. How do you balance as a business owner the needs of your clients, the needs of your staff, and your needs as well?
Well, we are a boutique, so we don't take anybody who walks in the door. We want to make sure that we're a good fit and that we're offering value. So, to think about it very simply, there's a 3-step process in creating a plan and understanding whether or not we're a good fit. And the first is understanding the person's goals. What do you want out of retirement? So many people don't even take the time to think about what's retirement going to look like. And so we spend time doing that. The second is a plan. Everyone who works with us has a retirement plan. That plan works, it's active, it's updated regularly. We have a whole system in place to make sure people stay on their plan. And even before someone becomes a client, they get a plan. And then finally, we match that up to their portfolio and their risk level. And so all those 3 things in alignment allows us to manage our clients and help them through retirement. But again, we're not for everyone. Everyone isn't for us. We sit down, we go through a process to make sure that it's a good fit. And when it's a good fit, it's easy.
Absolutely. Now, what inspired you to write the book?
Well, it was a journey of about 5 years when I had this idea, because I just wasn't getting my message out to enough people. And I didn't feel like I was helping enough people, because again, I am on a mission because of what I learned through my mom's situation and my dad's situation and their financial situation. And, you can talk to so many people, you can meet with so many people. The book was a way of getting my message out there. And the interesting thing about the book is it's not your typical, this is how to invest, this is what a stock is, this is what a bond is. It's nothing like that at all. These are all those intangibles, issues and challenges that I've learned about by meeting with thousands of families over the years. There are 10 chapters and each one has a lot of information, but what's most important is that at the end of every chapter are 4 or 5 questions. And these questions are meant for people to sit down with their partner or their spouse or their friend and talk through. And by going through those questions, folks will be more prepared for retirement, whether they work with us or not. And that was my goal.
Well, it sounds like you achieved it, and that's a great goal. With all the volatility that's happened over the last couple of years in the markets, everything going on with COVID, we're not obviously asking for any investment advice on this podcast, but how have you pivoted, if at all, and how has it affected the way you advise clients?
Well, it really hasn't, because if you're expecting to be retired for 20 or 30 years, that means that this moment in time is going to be repeated at least once or twice. And so when you're preparing for retirement and when you're preparing your portfolio, you need to plan that in. And so everyone who works with us, we've already planned this out. The pivot was to say, okay, we're now moving into a different economic cycle or period of the cycle. So now we're going to shift from the first part of the plan to the second part of the plan, and then we'll shift back when we come back out of it. So this is all, we think about all of this stuff ahead of time, because, Seth, I've been in this business a long time. This is not the first time I've seen this kind of volatility, and it's not going to be the last.
As you mentioned, you've been in the business a long time, been very successful. How are you attracting clients now? What's working the best for you to get folks in the door?
So we have a couple of different ways that we do. We get people who go to our website all the time and will reach out. We do workshops, seminars at local universities or dinner seminars. And then referrals, I would say, is the biggest. I mean, there's nothing like having a client introduce us. But if I can, Seth, one more thing that I am planning on and working on and will be out in 2023 is we're turning my book into an online class. So it's going to be a course that people will be able to take. Again, you just go through this class. It isn't like you have to sign up and become a client or anything like that, but it's to take people through a process of preparing for retirement. We have a number of working titles, and I'll let you know when it's rolling out. We're about halfway through, and I'm very excited about that. And I think that'll be another way for people to get to know us.
Absolutely. I love the idea that you'll make an online curriculum out of it. Do you have any idea? You said you're about halfway through. For our RIAs who are listening, just on a technical aspect, do you know what type of software you're using to deliver that course?
What I did is I hired experts. You know what, Seth? I asked people to come to me and hire me as an expert because I understand investments and financial planning and all that good stuff. And so I like to take my own advice. And I went out and I hired experts who have done this for some of the biggest players in the business to put together. So I don't know. And that's a good thing, right?
You got people for that.
I got people for that.
And then that may be the answer to the next question, which is going to be, can you talk a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of our RIAs would be interested to know how you're going to drive traffic or how you're going to get that course in front of ideal clients.
Sure. We're going to do a targeted program through social media. And again, I have people for that. And I can't stress this enough. Do what you do best and then hire people to do the rest. I think so often when we are RIAs and business people, and we're so used to doing everything within our business ourselves, we get caught up in this stuff, and you get distracted from what you do best. You do what you do best. Hire people to do the rest.
Well, that segues perfectly into my next question. Can you talk a little bit about the team that you've built at TFG?
Sure. So we have a great group, 5 folks. Lisa Udosky, who has been with me now, as of last week, she's been with me for 10 years. She came from another advisor and really worked side by side to build it. And then we have another a young advisor who's up and coming, and a couple of operations folks. But what we do is we outsource a lot, all right? Because you don't have to have everything that you need 24/7 around you. And so we built out relationships. Remember, I mentioned I've worked for wealthy families. And so I use their model. They don't do everything. They have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. The last family I worked with had over $8 billion. And I'll tell you, they had a very small staff.
Well, that speaks volumes to the efficiency that's able to do that, to supervise the process. Mm-hmm. Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
I like best about what I'm doing is that I get to help people every day. And I think that if you're not in it to help people, then I don't know why you're doing it, because it's a hard business, right? You deal with the ups and the downs of the families. We just got through COVID. I don't know what other advisors experienced. We had clients who passed away, some not so suddenly, some suddenly. You're dealing with families, you're dealing with different issues. Investing is probably the easiest thing that we do. It's that working with people to help them to stay on course, to get through crises. And, at the end of the day, it's a really good feeling to know that I can help people.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you helping us, giving us some of your very valuable time. For our folks who are watching and listening, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about you and all things TFG?
Sure. So tfgwealth.com is our website, and you can also email at tfg@tfgwealth.com are 2 great ways to reach out to us.
Awesome. And where can we get the book, the name of the book, for those of you who are listening to the audio and can't see the video?
Yes. Road Rules for Retirement, and it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and find bookstores in the cloud. However, we sell books now.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Seth Green for the RIA podcast with Mark Freed from TFG Wealth and Road Rules for Retirement. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening, and we'll talk to you or see you next time.